Hello, everybody. Don't adjust your computers. We are finally back. Our Christmas break and New Year's break is over. Boy, how about that calendar scheduling Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, both on Thursday, so we couldn't have our show. But we are back. No more scheduling conflicts for petty things like holidays. And so we're back here ready to talk some wrestling. Lots to go over, lots to digest. I want to get into the matches that have been taking place recently and the declarations for the Royal Rumble. Big rumors about the WWE still trying to set it up to have fans at the Royal Rumble. But I don't know, like, as far as what Florida seems like they're just kind of defying everybody and just staying all the time. Yeah, we can have fans everywhere. And so it's like every event that usually will have fans is going to go to Florida, I think. WrestleMania is going to go to Tampa, where they were supposed to be last year.
That's wow.
Yeah. And so I'm assuming then they're just bumping it back. California, Los Angeles will have next year's WrestleMania 38. And and so on and so on. And it's funny, we sit here about 2 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. Well, 3 weeks from the Royal Rumble. And normally about this time, I start to get some ideas in my head as to who I think has a good chance to win the Royal Rumble. This year, I don't really have a good grasp on it.
No, I don't know how they're going to do the Royal Rumble because that's a lot of people to have in a ring at one point.
Well, you can control that. Everybody's tested now, but NFL has all those players down in the field all the time. So I don't think it's. I think they're okay now. I know that was a concern at the beginning of the pandemic. It's why they made some changes, like to the WrestleMania ladder match, the tag team ladder match they were supposed to have, and only having one representative from each team. This year, I do think that I think they'll be okay having the Royal Rumble event. They may even like the idea of not having the ring get all that crowded at a time, like having more guys get eliminated quicker. And
that's going to be probably the best solution because even though the guys get tested, it doesn't it could be like a false positive. It could be like, a false negative.
Right.
So
they haven't really run into the issue, and I don't even want to say it because I don't want to put that bad energy out there. But they haven't really run into that issue with guys testing positive.
Yeah, they've been. WWE has been the only sport that hasn't had a ton of cases.
Yeah,
and the NFL has had a ton.
The Cleveland Browns coach and staff, and
So what are they going to do about the playoff on Saturday? They're going to, push it back or what?
Well, right now the plan is that game's slated for Sunday night. Right now the plan is to continue with that for Sunday night.
Really?
Yeah. But the only way they would push the game back is just like they've said in other cases is if they still had more positive cases. Right now there hasn't been any in a couple of days. I don't know about the latest round of testing that would have taken place today. I think we'll find out tomorrow. And then, they'll have the test Friday and go from there. So, I mean, unless all of a sudden there's a pop-up of a few more cases, I would think they're going to go. They've already got, the Browns have a plan in place on who's going to coach their team on Sunday. So, they have their plan in place. Now, I wonder for WWE bringing it back is that if, say their guy that they have slated to win the Royal Rumble, what if he comes down with a positive case on, Friday?
Yeah.
Even if it's a false positive, you got to get, 3 or 4, negative tests before they'll let you come back in.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would throw a monkey wrench in their whole plan. Now, what they may do is say the guy who they were going to have win, maybe to get a championship match at the Elimination Chamber, maybe instead they'd have him win the Rumble, and the Rumble winner would then win a Chamber match to get a WrestleMania title shot. It'd be an easy, fix. But still, I mean, hey, what if both guys? What if all of a sudden you get guys who travel together? Well, they become close contact. You got 5 or 6 guys, or maybe 4 guys or something, out of the pay-per-view just like that.
Yeah, that's
Which
yeah.
thankfully they haven't had to travel, and I think that's the biggest reason why they've been able to go so long and not have cases. They've been able to have their bubble. They were really, the test dummies for the bubble.
Yeah, like they haven't had those long road trips with like 4 guys in a car.
Right.
They used to. So I think that's how they're pulling this off. But they also, I don't think they're having as many guys in the arena at one time like they normally do.
Right. Now, they
Um,
just did their Legends Night this
yeah,
past week on Raw. And to me, I thought that was interesting. I figured the whole reason they hadn't done anything like that was they didn't want to introduce new people in there. They didn't want to bring in guys who hadn't been a part of the bubble, hadn't, quarantined.
right.
And now I'm assuming everybody that came in had to get tested.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did.
Yeah.
I've been trying to follow AEW a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
only because of course, of Sting being there now,
Sure.
and then I think they're trying to do some type of connection with him and what's that kid's name with the skateboard?
Darby Allin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're trying to make Darby Allin like the next like Sting-ish person because he's always sitting up like.
Yeah, he's sitting up in the rafters. Yeah, I do think they're trying to do that. I know that apparently Sting had this idea of doing some like cinematic matches. He'd had this idea while in WWE and approached Vince McMahon and talked to him about the idea of doing a cinematic match. And basically Vince kind of brushed it off at the time. And so when he got contacted by Tony Khan before signing with AEW, Tony Khan says to him, "Hey, how would you like to do some cinematic matches for us?" And apparently that's the plan,
That'd be
is
cool.
to do a couple cinematic matches. And he was like, "Well, yeah, that's what I was looking to do." Because his whole idea is he wants to be able to go out on his terms. And I get it. No wrestler wants to have the decision taken away from him as
Right.
much as I believed Edge went way back when he first was forced to retire, and he actually commented one time that it was easier this way because the decision was out of his hands. It's like, well, nothing I can do. They told me I can't wrestle anymore. But everybody wants to go out on their own terms. Nobody wants it just taken away from them like that. And so I'm sure, that's what Sting's going through. And so here was this opportunity to be able to end his career on his terms.
Right.
And being on TNT, that's where Nitro was, and that's where he really made his name.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's a way for his career to go full circle.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's finally getting to do something else because WWE didn't use him right when he came there.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I always see on all these fan groups and stuff on Facebook, they talk about one booking that you would change. Like if you got to go back in time and say, this is one booking I would change. The number one thing I would change would be Sting Triple H. Sting should have won that match.
Oh yeah, by far.
Sting has to win that. That's his WWE debut. I know everybody knows. It's not like he's a rookie and people really, don't know who he is. But that's such an important moment, and he's got to win that.
Yeah. And it's like I think they only made him lose because I guess people still thought that he was fighting for WCW, which was ridiculous because it was long
Yeah,
after.
I was gonna say, yeah, if he was fighting for WCW, he would have come in as part of the invasion angle.
Yeah.
Which again, I've always thought that the invasion angle, when they did it, like the whole thing that everybody, like a lot of the big name guys were paid to sit at home for a year,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think they should have put off the whole invasion angle, or at least done it in a way where you could have had like where it would have still been going on, and you could have brought those guys in as like part of it at the end.
Yeah. I think that Shane should have kept WCW going as his
Right.
own company.
Yeah, or like they did the whole brand extension. Well, to me, it would have been the easiest thing in the world to just say, "Well, we bought WCW. We'll run WCW on a different night. Obviously, it's not going to be on TNT on Monday nights, going head to head with Raw,
Right.
but they run it on another night. Maybe run it instead of SmackDown at the time. Like,
Yeah.
turn SmackDown into WCW SmackDown.
Yeah. Or
Like,
even like that could have been like their developmental thing, like NXT is.
sure,
Like, but instead
yeah,
they, you
I
know,
agree. There's like they could have handled it so much better. I mean, the only thing that I liked about the whole invasion angle was I liked the Survivor Series winner take all match.
yeah.
And the match itself was really good. Some of the storyline, the Vince McMahon saying that there was somebody who jumped ship from WCW, like I didn't like that. It kind of made WWE look heelish in the role, or WWF look like the heels in the final role of it. And I know that was probably part of the intention, was because you were wrapping up that storyline. You wanted to make sure Vince McMahon went back into his role being the heel, and it was perfect because then you got to kick off another round, sort of Austin McMahon. Uh, so, like, and then it turned into Austin having to deal with the NWO, which again, that was part of the invasion that I liked. Had it been NWO coming in to kill off WWE instead of like after WCW had failed, like it could have been. I don't know. I thought it could have been interesting. It could have been a way to bring WCW and WWE together.
Yeah, I really didn't care for when Triple H and Stone Cold teamed up.
No, the 2-man power trip.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't care for that at all.
yeah, and I mean, not that you're ever happy to see a guy tear his quad, but um, Triple H tearing his quad killed that whole angle, and it was it died the death it needed.
Yeah. Um, I also want to touch on a little bit of the Brody Lee subject.
Yeah, that's a really sad story. Apparently, it was a non-COVID respiratory issue.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if this was like a sudden thing, like a virus that came on that was just, you know, I mean, look, whatever it was, our hearts go out to Brody Lee, to John Huber's family.
Mhm.
You hate to see anything like this ever happen.
Especially how young he was.
Yeah. And the AEW show that paid tribute to him, like
Oh man, that
that,
was
I kept thinking as I'm watching this, man, who around here is cutting all these damn onions? I couldn't stop crying. Like, it was just, it's funny because you never really think of those guys a lot of times. Us as wrestling fans, we see those guys a lot of times as their characters.
Mhm.
And so Brody Lee, Luke Harper, like he's this big, bristly guy who, you know, beats the crap out of everybody, was this authoritative figure in, the Dark Order. But I thought it was funny when I heard some of the guys talk about it. It's like usually the bigger and meaner looking the character, the nicer the guy. And
yeah.
It sounds like that's exactly what it was. And I'd heard that about some other guys in the past as well, like Vader. Leon White was like supposedly the nicest guy you could ever meet if you ever met him anywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I've had a lot of great Twitter interactions with his son.
I know the one guy we both hate to no end.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I've heard that he's actually really nice behind the scenes.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. For a while, I had heard differently, but it's more come to. I think some of what I heard originally for a couple of years was what the WWE wanted people to believe was that his character was him.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, I think it is. Like, he's a big badass. Like, he can beat the crap out of people.
Yeah.
But he's also apparently I think I told the story on one of our recent episodes that, in the build-up to the Undertaker match at WrestleMania, where he breaks the streak, when they get to New Orleans, Vince McMahon goes over to Brock Lesnar's hotel room, big smile on his face, telling him the news. It's like, this is like Saturday late evening. Knocks on his door and says, "Brock, I got some great news for you." And Brock was like, "What?" He said, "You're going to go over tomorrow. You're going to win. You're going to beat the Undertaker. You're going to end the streak." And he looks at him, "Get out. No, I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
And like, he was like adamantly upset. And like that day at WrestleMania, he was all day. He was, "I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it." And when Vince McMahon went in and told the Undertaker what he wanted to do, that it was the Undertaker that went to Brock Lesnar and said, "Look, man, this works. Let's do it."
It's really surprising.
Yeah. Even though the Undertaker, said in the round 2 on Steve Austin's podcast that he didn't really he thought the streak was something special enough that could have lasted forever or had somebody who really needed it. But when he knew Vince McMahon had it in his mind, this had to happen, he had to convince Brock Lesnar to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the person that should have broken the streak should have been someone that had maybe more of a history with the Undertaker. Maybe like,
Yeah, like the Shawn Michaels or Triple H.
Yeah, or someone else that he's had a lot of matches with.
Kane would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Mick Foley. Because, I mean, like, Mick Foley, unfortunately, never really had a great WrestleMania moment.
Right.
Like, his great WrestleMania moment was WrestleMania 2000, where, like, he's walking out after Triple H pins him, and he kind of, and, like, he had a good match in that Fatal 4-Way. But still, like, he was on his way out. Like, he was retiring. Or, I guess his match with Edge, too. That was a great moment.
Oh, yeah.
22. But still, like that, like if all of a sudden it's like Mick Foley's coming out of retirement to face the Undertaker, and one of the Undertaker's greatest rivals, and he beats the Undertaker to end the streak, that's pretty darn special.
Yeah, it would have been cool either to have someone that was currently there with the history with him, or if they brought someone back just for one night.
Or, I mean, again, in the podcast with Stone Cold, Roman Reigns was the name that brought up. The Undertaker said, "Look, because obviously he lost to Roman. Then a couple of years later, he said that he thought that would have been the perfect time to end the streak. It should have just been one person that beat him. He shouldn't have lost twice, and it should have been somebody who needed it, somebody that it would have really mattered to." And Roman Reigns was somebody that it matters to. Like it would have meant something. It would have been important. Like Brock Lesnar, like when you list his accomplishments, all his championship reigns, the only guy to win NCAA national championship, a UFC championship, and a WWE championship. Like it's so much. Like you get at the time was the youngest champion of all time, a former king of the ring. Like you get 4 or 5 accomplishments down before you say, and the first guy to beat the Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Right.
Guy who broke the streak.
Yeah. Yeah, I will never understand why they made him lose twice.
Yeah, I feel like that was something like I understood once, I did not understand twice.
Yeah. So
Which brings me to my idea, like, what do you think? Is there any like great, legend versus today's superstar match that you think we might get at WrestleMania?
the only legend I can really see coming back to fight would be Triple H. But he's not even working with anybody right now.
Yeah, yeah, he's not really involved in anything.
I can't really see any other because they're not really using any legends at the moment.
Well, you figure when Edge comes back, which I would imagine he'll be back at the Royal Rumble.
Hopefully, I'm
Yeah.
surprised he's not already back.
Well, he should be medically cleared by now. I thought he'd be cleared in like November, but maybe it was just one of those things. They wanted to keep him out longer, with his neck injuries. Like, just keep him out longer, let him work out, get himself right, and be back for Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It certainly seems to me like the one storyline they're building right now towards WrestleMania is Randy Orton and The Fiend.
Yeah, I think there's going to be another match between those two because.
Yeah, I don't like what do you do after the Inferno match?
Yeah.
Like how do you follow that? How can you have a bigger blowout now between Randy Orton and The Fiend? I mean, are we putting him in Hell in a Cell? Like,
I would honestly maybe do. You know what I miss? I miss those matches where they had the falls count anywhere, where the guys would actually end up outside and stuff.
yeah,
Like now they just go to like the back and then they go back to the ring and that's it. It's like they don't even go anywhere anymore.
right. Like, I mean, remember the Falls Count at the Hardcore Championship match back in, I think it was like 99, February 99, that ended up in the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
Like, that was freaking cool.
Yeah.
And, there are just so many matches that they're not doing right now. And I know they don't want to, like, they can't do a lot of going outside and stuff because they can't risk crowds trying to get around where they're working at.
True. That being said, match between Randy Orton and The Fiend, maybe do a Hell in a Cell Inferno match.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to incorporate fire again because again, you're not setting Randy Orton on fire, and I
Right.
feel like whenever you bring the Fiend back, this has got to be the Fiend's triumphant moment.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking just a Hell in a Cell match would make sense.
But there's got to be another.
What I'm hoping is that Randy Orton is like an early entrant in the Royal Rumble, like one or two, and goes on a little bit of a run, and like we're like maybe midway through, and then you see them do the whole like Bray Wyatt entrance, like the Fiend, like not as an entrant in the Royal Rumble, but just coming down and then costing Randy Orton his Royal Rumble win.
Right. Yeah, because I can't think of any other. You got to have a stipulation in the Hell in a Cell, though. It can't just be a plain Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they'll have more time to think about it, but
Yeah, because the top of an Inferno match, you got to have more than just a Hell in a Cell.
yeah, Hell in a Cell First Blood match.
Which they don't even do First Blood anymore.
You can make an exception this time.
They
These two
like,
guys, I mean, they're both veterans. Like, I mean, the Fiend, like he grew up in the business. Like he's, a third generation guy. Randy Orton's a third generation guy. Like they both grew up in the business. Like I think it would be perfectly fine to say, okay, you guys can have a First Blood match and put it in Hell in a Cell. Like, because what I would personally love is to see it be like something like the kind of bloody mess that remember in 2006 when DX fought the McMahons and the Big Show inside Hell in a Cell.
oh yeah,
That
or
freaking mess. And that's what I'd like to see between Randy Orton and The Fiend.
Yeah, or when Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker were in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that was another great Hell in a Cell match.
But there's such a family-oriented show now that they take
Put
everything.
them on late in the night because once you get late in the night, you can they can go further with stuff.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to put that match up on at 7 o'clock. Put it on at like 9 or 10. It's probably going to be another 5-hour show.
Probably.
I mean, of course, I don't know. Like with them doing it 2 nights last year, I don't want to do that again. It was fine last year, the pandemic.
Yeah.
But this year, I think it's got to go back to the one night. And whoever, I don't know what kind of attendance they're going to have at Raymond James Stadium, but that crowd's going to be excited.
Oh,
and hopefully they can keep them engaged for the 5 hours that the show will probably be.
Yeah. I can only see them doing like half of a crowd, which is it's a shame because they're going to lose so much money at WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, that's always their big payday is WrestleMania. Yeah. Any thoughts right now as to who you like in the Rumble? Like I know we already said it's really unpredictable this year, but is there anybody you look at and say, okay, forget who you think's going to win. Who would you like to see win?
That's tough because I don't even know. There may be somebody that comes back.
Well, for example, I know I've been touting this idea, and it's probably not happening this year, but it's just something I'd like to see. We've talked about, the record for most championships, Ric Flair at 16, and John Cena is tied with him. I would love surprise entrant John Cena shows up, wins the Royal Rumble, and faces Drew McIntyre for the WWE title at WrestleMania.
Oh, that'd be such a great match.
Right?
Oh, but
they're probably not going to do it.
Because I don't think anybody's ever going to break that streak.
Yeah. I mean, I would think the only one that realistically has a chance is Randy Orton.
Yeah.
He's at 14 right now.
I'm really surprised Triple H doesn't have more under his belt.
But he is 14 too, I think.
Is he?
Yeah. But he's intentionally said that he does not want to break Ric Flair's record. He doesn't want it. Because of how much he loves Ric Flair, and he always wants Ric Flair to have that record. Which is why I think they've stopped John Cena from doing it.
But even Ric Flair said, he wants someone to break it.
Yeah.
Dude, records are meant to be broken.
I agree with you. And I think Triple H also worries that it'll be seen as since he's the guy in charge, of course he made himself break that record.
Yeah.
I think he's real worried about that image, and he doesn't want to cheapen that record by then doing that to himself.
I would just give it to John Cena, and I think he deserves it the most because he was there.
Absolutely.
Actually, the person that deserves it the most just retired because nobody was as hardworking as The Undertaker was for that company.
But yeah, I mean, The Undertaker he was able to do it without being the champion for most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what did he have? Did he have 9 or 10 championships, something like that?
Yeah, he deserved way more championship opportunities than what he was given.
Well, he was with the company for 6 years before he got his second championship.
Yeah, see, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
He was with them for what?
From 91 until just this past year, so 30 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And to only have 9 or 10 championships.
Well, and to be the guy, they were playing R-Truth could be there 50 years and he's never going to be champion.
Yeah.
But The Undertaker's The Undertaker. he's the greatest character in the history of the business.
Right.
And we still need to start our list of greatest superstars. Maybe we'll start that next week.
Yeah, I'll work on it over the week.
Yeah, because I definitely want to do it. Like, I don't want to just spring it on you and have you just like, pulling guys out of your head here. Like, I want it to be something well thought out for us. So we'll do that next week. We'll plan for that, and we'll talk more about like we had a great match this past week on NXT. I wanted to talk about it before we go off the air. Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor. I'm really impressed with how NXT has pushed Kyle O'Reilly. Like, and I look at this and I say, it's so simple. The formula NXT is doing. Put guys out there, let them just create and have magic with each other. And how come WWE can't do this? How come Monday Night Raw can't have the same kind of matches?
I think because there's someone else behind Monday Night Raw. I know Triple H and Shawn Michaels are primarily behind NXT.
Well, you know who it is behind Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. The big guy.
Yeah, Vince.
Yeah.
So if he would just let people like Triple H have more say, I think the show would
or kind of just follow their cue, like see what they're doing and what's successful, and say, okay, why don't I just do that here? And I'm not saying he's got to step aside, but allow for some other ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be that jerk and be like, oh, Vince McMahon's out of touch. Dude, Vince McMahon is the reason why this company is here. Like, he's the reason why there is a WWE, why there is a WrestleMania season, why there's a WrestleMania.
He looked, when I saw him for the Undertaker thing, he's getting up there.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. I was like, what the hell?
And I would like to see, like, right now is a downtime for WWE. I would like to see them have one more, like, glory run that, in Vince's life, so he can kind of see it at the top again.
Yeah.
Like the way it was during the Attitude Era, where you had sellout arenas everywhere and viewership through the roof, where it was the highest rated show on every cable television show, like beating Monday Night Football. And like this year during football season, like, I don't think I watched Monday Night Raw live one single time. I mean, not once. I always watched it on Tuesday after, I watch football on Monday nights, come home from work on Tuesdays, and then I'd watch Monday Night Raw. And that's what I did all year. Hey, that's even what I did. The Sixers were on Monday, so I watched the Sixers, and I watched Monday Night Raw on Tuesday.
Yeah.
This week, there's the National Championship game on Monday, so I'll watch Monday Night Raw on Tuesday. Like in the Attitude Era, I wouldn't even dreamt of doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have missed the show in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I mean, my poor remote during the fall, it got a workout on Monday nights. It was Monday Night Raw. Okay, that went to commercial. Let's flip over to Monday Nitro. Okay, that's a commercial. Let's flip over to Monday Night Football. And Monday Night Football was third on the priority list then, unless the Eagles or one of their rivals were playing. Or if there's maybe a really big Monday Night Football game. And back then, Monday Night Football was the big show.
Mm-hmm.
But like, heck, this year, even pay-per-views took a back seat to like Sunday Night Football. And I would watch the pay-per-views then on Mondays before Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll get into our, greatest superstars next week. We'll talk more about the Royal Rumble coming up. Maybe we'll go over, who's declared for the Rumble. And I still think that we should do like an expanded Rumble, like maybe a 40 or a 50-man Rumble. Because I think you have enough superstars to do it. Maybe this year isn't the year to do it, just because you're still coming out of the pandemic. And even though, like, you could find ways to make it work in this environment, like maybe next year is the year to try that, to go to 40 or 50 men again.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly think they have enough stars. We can maybe talk about who are important guys that you want to see in the Rumble, whether it be, because you want to see certain guys square off. Like, for example, I want to see at some point all three members of the New Day, Big E, Kofi, and Xavier Woods in the Rumble match together. And I want there to be some kind of confrontation where, like, say, Big E eliminates, whether it be Xavier Woods or Kofi.
Yeah.
In his efforts because he's trying to win the Rumble. I wouldn't mind Big E winning the Rumble. And getting one thing I would like to see is somebody like a surprise. I don't want it to be like your usual suspects.
Yeah.
Or, somebody who you look at as already like an established star. Like AJ Styles, like as awesome as he is, and as much as I want to see him headline WrestleMania, does he really need to win a Rumble like for his career?
No.
Probably not. But like that would really make somebody like Big E or Keith Lee, or Kevin Owens, or
Yeah.
That's something we'll talk about more next week. We'll get into some other guys, that we think deserve main event spots. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll certainly be right back with you next week as no more holidays for a while. I think we'll be good there. Nothing else to really interrupt us for a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe, So everybody have a great night. Continue to stay safe, practice social distancing, wear your stupid mask, and everybody have a great night. And Joe, everybody watching at home, happy wrestling.
Happy wrestling.